For today's reading, I have the Blind Spot Oracle card deck by Teal Swan. And this is the one with the guidebook for all of the cards. And I've already pulled some, asking with clear intentions what we need to know, and specifically what our blind spots are. Knowing your blind spots, before we even start, knowing your blind spots is very important and can get you out of dangerous situations. It can save your life, it can save your happiness, it can really help you. So that's why we take a look deeper into this. For the first one is 38, and it is reactivity. If you have drawn this sigil, you are currently emotionally reacting instead of responding, and you are not seeing why you are reacting in the way that you are. As people, we only react when we feel deeply threatened. The reality is that you feel unsafe and at risk in this scenario in some way. When we feel threatened, our survival mechanisms take over our capacity to objectively view or understand the situation at hand. These mechanisms make us act immediately. We react in order to avoid, postpone, or nullify the threat of loss. Like a gun that's shooting off a bullet, we act so quickly that we make serious mistakes, which we can't take back and may spend a long time paying for. If you have drawn this sigil, the threat is the circumstances in which you find yourself is not an imminent or as big as you think it is. It may not even be there at all, but the idea of that threat is causing you to think, say, and do things that are making the problem much bigger than it was to begin with. And the more reactive you get, the more potential for a solution will diminish. Anytime we are reactive, we are on the defense. This means we have a real vulnerability we are hiding and guarding. What is that vulnerability? What are you really afraid of? What is really painful in this scenario? In this scenario, it is critical to stop, slow things down, and do nothing until you are no longer in an emotionally charged state of being. When we walk into a lake, often we stir up the mud at the bottom of the lake, and this clouds the water so we cannot see clearly. We need to stand completely still and wait for the mud to settle back to the bottom of the water in order to see clearly. The mud in the water in this scenario is the charged emotion in our body. Do not act until it has settled. By slowing things down and refusing to act until the stirred up emotional mud has settled, you are giving yourself a chance to come out of the fight or flight mode and see the situation from an objective standpoint. You can then respond according to that more objective understanding that you do have. A reaction is instantaneous and is therefore driven by the subconscious mind. This means it is driven by past trauma, beliefs, biases, prejudices, and primitive bodily functions. Because it is a function of the subconscious, you do it without thinking. Response, however, is driven by the conscious mind. It happens when we make a decision after evaluating long-term effects, the impact on others, as well as our deepest values and personal truth. Because it involves unconscious choice, it is a byproduct of free will. If you have drawn this sigil, you are being asked to respond, not react. If you have drawn this sigil, it will benefit you to spend time accepting in the energy of sigil 30 as well as this one, and coming to understand its message as well. Let's see what number 30 is. Short-term thinking. You're falling into the trap of short-term thinking. You're not thinking and doing things with the long-term implications in your mind, and this will come back to you, back to bite you. People tend to have a strong preference for immediate payoffs as opposed to delayed payoffs, even when the long term payoffs far outweigh the short term ones. This may be leading you to make choices that your future self would prefer you not to make. The bottom line is this: if we are making decisions for the future or making choices for right now, we will often make different decisions. Our world is littered with examples of unintended consequences that are the results of short term thinking. A woman might not want to feel the belonging and love and approval relative to a man who is showing her sexual interest, and so she does not use contraception in the short term, and thus does not consider the consequence of pregnancy in the long term. People may love the instant reward and also avoidance of emotional pain inherent in gambling. In that moment, they are not thinking about the consequences of squandering all their money away. In ancient Rome, a group of men loyal to the Republic feared that Julius Caesar was going to establish a monarchy and establish permanent leadership. In 44 BC, they decided to assassinate him, thereby resorting to the Republic in the short term. In the ensuing chaos and absence of leadership, Caesar's great nephew, Octavius, quickly assumed power and permanently ended the Republic by establishing a de facto monarchy. After Caesar's death, it became obvious that he was killed to eradicate an immediate perceived threat. But the plan wasn't well thought out because Caesar had never intended to create a monarchical system in the first place. The long-term consequence was that by making decisions for the short term, the conspirators brought about exactly what they had tried to prevent. When we are facing a decision to make in the present, especially when something is threatening us, we tend to grab for an immediate solution without thinking deeply about the consequence, the roots of the problem, or the potential unintended consequences that might ensue. Because we react instead of thinking and responding, our actions are often based on insufficient information, and that can get us into a lot of trouble. If you have drawn the sigil, the reality is that you either didn't see or aren't seeing the decisions you are making or have made to satisfy short-term need could negatively impact your long-term needs. You are falling prey or short-term thinking when you should be thinking and acting in terms of what will be the best for you in the long term. Long-term planning for your future already is definitely important here. And the other one I pulled for this reading here is number 46, which is the faulty compass. If you have drawn the sigil, you are allowing emotional influence to guide you. And the next card that I pulled for this reading is number 46, which is the faulty compass. And it really makes a lot more sense when you read them together or it just makes sense why these cards are popping out together because they connect. It says if you have drawn the sigil, you are allowing emotional influence to guide you, which is going off of making decisions hastily or in a rush or out of desperation. You are, allowing emotional influence to guide you too much here. But the emotion you are being guided by is not an accurate reflection of your personal truth or the truth of the situation at hand. Essentially, you are allowing your emotion to cloud your awareness. When we are in a positive mental and emotional state, we tend to perceive situations to be high benefit and low risk. On the other hand, if we are in a negative emotional state, we will see a situation to be low in benefits and high in risk. For example, let's imagine that you were bullied in school by someone who made you feel sad and worthless. If you see that same person 20 years later, you'll probably still dislike them, even if they are nothing like they were before, because your emotions say that person is bad. Emotions function like a compass pointing you through your life. If your compass was not messed with, you would not fall out of touch with your own due worth. You would not fall out of touch with your own due north. Yes, with your own North Star. You would not see your emotions as wrong, and therefore you would see every emotion as valid and happening for an important reason. You would resist carefully. You would listen carefully to the personal truth being conveyed in every emotion, and you would follow what feels good with awareness in the same way you would follow a compass. If you felt bad, you would understand that your thoughts, words, and actions were taking you in the wrong direction. But our compasses are messed with, distorted by thoughts passed down to us, information we are fed, beliefs we are conditioned to adopt, ways the information is presented to us, experiences we have had, and meaning that we assign to experiences. They are especially messed with during the process of socialization, when we come into contact with other people who cannot accommodate our truth, including wants, needs, and personal purpose, and require us to let go of our truth for them. They expect us to believe that this is the only way to avoid conflict and to feel good. They ask us to replace our internal compass with theirs, and they fiddle with our compass so it no longer reflects our personal truth. Since your emotions are like a compass, always conveying personal truth to you and always pointing you in the direction that is right for you to go, there is nothing more critical to do in life than to get back in touch with your emotions and to start following that internal guidance system again. This is why teachings like follow your joy and be unconditionally present to your emotions and make how you feel the most important thing in your life are so crucial. But there is one major problem inherent in approaching life with this blind conviction, and that is our feelings. If our compass has been messed with, we might very well be walking through life with our wires completely crossed. If you had drawn this sigil, in this situation, you are following the guidance of your emotions, your internal compass. Without realizing that, relative to this situation, your compass is faulty because it has been messed with over the years. Think of every emotion within you like the ice on the cake. Like ice, each emotion is covering a message of a deep personal truth, like water underneath it. If you are unconditionally present with each emotion, you will melt through the emotion into that truth. Based on hearing the thoughts associated with that truth, you will know the why behind the way you feel, the why your compass is pointing you in a particular direction. You then need to use your free will to make a conscious choice and take a conscious action based on that truth. So this is the solution here. We have the problem and the solution, and we will go deeper on that in the next video where we will pull the white light oracle. But for now, that I know that can be a lot to take in because it's really like it's calling you out here. But it's for the best because it's helping us to see where we are sabotaging our own growth. And I do feel this like temperance energy with listening to your emotions but not being too guided by them, by like emotional reactiveness. Okay, so you can listen to your emotions and still be stable. So we're inviting that in, and yeah, I hope that this guidance and these cards can help you. We got another one, but we'll get to that in another video. All right, love you, bye.